we could talk about the winners of the NBA draft first. You guys know where I'm going with. I'm going with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Makes sense.
I think they won
Number one,
the first round of the draft.
Biggest winners.
To me, the biggest winner. Because this is a team that just made the Western Conference Finals. They have a superstar in Anthony Edwards. And Tim Connolly put it perfectly in his post-game press conference, post-draft press conference. He said that there are 3 ways to get better as a team when you're over the second apron, right? There are 3 ways in general. Free agency, through the trade market, or through the draft. Because Minnesota is a second apron team, they don't have no money. They can't go get a quality player in free agency.
Yep.
The trade market, they could, but they would have to give up one of their players. Mm-hmm. So what's the only other option? It's the NBA draft, where they're picking. They're not going to get a true player with star potential in the 20s. You trade up to number 9 and with the Spurs, and you get Rob Dillingham, who you can argue is the best scorer in this class. 14-4 at Kentucky. Shot 44% from 3 on 5 attempts. He's a miniature guard. You don't expect him to play defense, but he fills something that Minnesota needs. It's shot creation. It's one of those guys that just go and get your own bucket. I'm not saying he's going to be ready as a rookie right away in crucial playoff moments, but Anthony Edwards was the only guy they could rely on to do that. And Rob Dillingham now gives them an option for the future and somebody who can contribute currently, who can become that backcourt with Anthony Edwards while Conley is on his way out because he's older. They filled their biggest need in the draft with a player that got true star potential. And then Terrence Shannon Jr. averaged 25, 26 a game in college. He's been in college for a while. He's a 4-year player?
5 maybe.
He's a 5-year player. He is ready to play now and ready to contribute right now, and he's somebody who can go get a bucket as well. So I thought they won night one. They improved their team through the draft.
I don't know if I would say they're a winner. I wouldn't call them a loser either. I just think you're putting a lot of pressure on Rob Dillingham in his first couple of years. Because if you watched, I think it was Tim Connolly talking about it. I don't know who it was, but it was Minnesota. They were talking about how they he's playing immediately. He's gonna get reps immediately. And shout out to him learning behind Mike Conley. And if there was a defense you hide a player like him behind, it would be this Minnesota defense. You have Ant, you have Jaden, Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid off the bench, Alexander Walker and stuff. It's just, for me, why I wouldn't say a winner is just it's a lot of pressure on Rob to come in and immediately impact. And guards that small, they typically take a couple years. Maybe not a couple, but they take a year or two to kind of figure things out, figure out the NBA game, get their body in NBA shape, So my winner of the draft, who I got up here? Oh, it's the Portland Trailblazers. I talked about it before. I think getting Denny Avdija in a trade I thought was huge. Trading Malcolm Brogdon, trading another 2029 first and the 14th pick, getting the player who probably isn't going to be better than Denny at any point in his next couple of years at 14 was huge. Getting somebody who has improved his shooting. We'll find out if it's real this year, but last year he's improved every year of his career, been a really good rebounder, an elite defender in Washington, and you kind of need that in Portland, a defensive identity, and then they went out and they got a big man that can do that can give them that in Donovan Clingan at 7. He fell. Memphis didn't seem like it felt like the asking prices were too much for Memphis to move up. So then, he fell right to Portland. And that's a big move for them, especially when they don't see DeAndre Ayton as their long-term center. You have Robert Williams, who I think it's a really good backup, a defensive big. You have Scoot, you have Shaedon Sharpe, who aren't the best defenders, actually horrible defenders at this point. So why not go get him a wing defender? Why not go get him a rim protector? And they did that. So for me, Portland is definitely one of my winners.
Portland was definitely on my list. To go opposite of your winner,
who you have.
Let's go with the Spurs. The fact that at pick 4 they go and they draft Stephon Castle, but you look at this trade that they did have with Minnesota. You get 2 first-round picks essentially. You get a pick swap in 2030 that's top 1 protected, and then you get a fully unprotected pick in 2031. Now that's ways away. You assume that Anthony Edwards and company are still going to be on the squad, still dominating the league, but 2031, anything can happen. That could be a valuable pick down the line. And at pick 4, you get Stephon Castle. That's going to be probably not the lead guard, but is still going to be a great defender for what they're trying to build over there in San Antonio. And he's going to be put in a position where he has the form to be a good shooter. He obviously has the ability to finish at the basket. But with Victor Wembanyama, that pick and roll is going to be awesome. That's going to be great to see. But I look at the Spurs as winners for the idea that they turned this draft in what is a weaker draft class for the grand scheme of things into 2 potential first round picks. I say 2 potential for the better of whatever Minnesota's is in 2030, and then another pick unprotected in 2031. So I have to give love to the Spurs for sure.
Okay, I'm surprised you didn't mention your team yet.
Oh,
I felt
trust
like
me, I have a bunch.
I got one more. I'll say. After.
I'll say
I'm not going to take your team.
All right, so then you
I
can
felt
go
like
ahead and
one
give
of
yours.
the biggest winners of the night was the Utah Jazz. Take Cody Williams, number
For
10.
sure.
I'm not a huge Cody Williams fan. He missed some time last year with a wrist and ankle injury, but Utah feels like a good destination for him to grow. It reminds me awfully a lot of Zaire Williams to Memphis, another 10th overall pick a couple of years ago. Taking a shot in a very toolsy wing, gets downhill to the rim, good fielder for the game, but he's a huge project. He's a boomer bust player. I like that for Utah. But more importantly, I thought Isaiah Collier at pick 29, the best value pick in the night. You're getting someone who can really play off Keontae George, getting to the downhill, physical driver, gets to the foul line. The jump shot can improve too. And I feel like long term, that could be your starting backcourt. To get that at the second to last pick of the first round was pretty insane value to me. There are a lot of teams who I felt could have used him.
Last team that I mentioned that had multiple draft picks that I would consider a winner, ironically, would be the Washington Wizards. I say that with the fact that number 2, you get Alexander Sarr. They did have a rough start by trading Denny Advia for the 14th pick, and I believe Malcolm Brogdon was also included in that trade.
29 first round pick as well.
But they got a guy.
Yeah, at 14, getting Bub. That was a great addition for them.
I had him going to Philly.
The thing with Bub is that obviously he could be better at getting downhill and getting to the basket. That creation aspect of his game needs refinement. But as a spot up shooter, as getting to a spot, that type of scorer, he's obviously great in that regard. And getting Keyshawn George with the pick that they traded for with the New York Knicks, I thought that was a great lick. But getting the best prospect, in my opinion, at pick 2, that's where they won it for me.
Do you think Jordan Poole grooms Bob Carrington? Think he grooms Bob Carrington? Like a mentor?
I don't know. I don't know if he's that type, to be honest.
So as of now, who do we have as winners?
I had Jazz, but he took it.
The Blazers as winners. I had the Timberwolves. You had the Wizards.
I have the Wizards and the Spurs. Last 2 teams I have Miami getting Khalil Ware at pick 15.
Yep.
The fact that you can have him now paired in the front court with Bam Adebayo for years. Miami Heat fans have been begging to have a counterpart with Bam Adebayo. You cannot have Kevin Love be your spot 5. Now you actually have someone that can be that enforcer down low while Bam is out on the perimeter having to switch and guard like we've seen a ton already in his career.
He's never had that type of player.
No, never.
I mean, when he came into the league as a starter, I think it was Myers Leonard alongside him at times in the playoffs, right? So, like, Bam having someone who can allow him to really play and roam and switch more so that he doesn't have to recover, get back into the play.
And Khalil also offers you the ability to stretch the floor out a little bit. So, to me, I look at Miami, obvious winners, and of course, we already know where I'm going. I'm going to Los Angeles Lakers, getting a top 10 prospect in Dalton Connect at pick 17, an elite shooter in college, shot 40% from 3 on 7 attempts, 42% on catch and shoot, off screen shot 37%. He was amazing last season. I believe he had 6 35-point games last year. He was nothing short of phenomenal. To get him at pick 17, to me, that was the steal of the night. That was the best value pick of the night. The Lakers have to be happy with themselves.
You know, there have been players that have reminded me of Dalton Connect in the past before that have been drafted. I can go all the way back to like the early 2010s when Nick Stauskas was one of those guys from Michigan. I'm not disrespecting him. This is just doing some observations, right? Nick Stauskas, I thought was a really good college player. He didn't have the athleticism to live in the NBA. Then I look at a player like Buddy Hield not too long ago from Oklahoma, who we thought he'd be a little bit better. He had some star potential coming out of the draft. His potential was high, but he's just become, which is more than enough, one of the better three-point shooters in the game. And I think he is an average athlete. Dalton Connect, I've looked around and I've seen the biggest question marks for him has been defense.
Yeah.
But a guy like that has athletic tools, you can teach to play defense.
For sure.
I don't think Dalton Connect is a complete negative on that side of the floor. Offensively, what he brings you, he's going to be a day one rotational player.
He's honestly a 3-level scorer. Can finish at the basket.
He's got a nice left
He's
hand.
a great player,
Really good
and I
left hand.
think prospects of the past that I mentioned previously, teams were scared to take Dalton Connect because of that reason, because of the limited upside, because he's an older prospect. But he's truly ready to play now, and it wouldn't shock me if he had one of the 3 best rookie seasons. And I think you can teach a defender who has athletic tools to play defense.
Without a doubt. I mean, most shooters like this, you don't expect them to be really good finishers, but when he gets to the rim, he is explosive enough to finish over guys. And I just look at what he does bring as a shooter, off movement. It's one of the most complete shooters I've ever seen coming out the draft. And really the only reason why he felt to me is because of his age at 23. Because, like, Buddy Hield, he was 24, 23 as well as a rookie. But, like, if you're getting Buddy Hield, the 17th overall pick, you're happy. Well, he reminds me of a bit is Boyan as a shooter. But, like, again, I think he brings more off the dribble. And I think for the Lakers, that's the perfect not third option, but the perfect small forward to plug in to fill out your starting lineup. And honestly, in some nights, he'll be a perfect, more than capable shot creator as that third piece.
They already have a set rotation. You know, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Reeves, Rui.
Mm-hmm. It's that too.
Dalton,
they're looking for
Dalton is that next guy up.
Apparently, there's conversations about Max Christie taking another leap this season. I have to wait and see about that.
Cam Reddish over him
for sure. Yeah. And also, honestly, Dalton, let me not say can be an immediate starter, but he can work his way in there.
He should be an immediate impact player.
I agree with that. We needed shooting. We were 28th, I believe, in attempts. That's obviously going to go up next season. Probably losing D'Angelo Russell. Don't know what's going to happen with that. Obviously, we have to see how all that transpires. But Dalton Connect was a great ad for what was a team that did need extra three-point shooting.
I feel like the teams that win in the draft are the ones that always have multiple first-round picks because they're able to select more talented players. But I had 2 teams that we haven't mentioned yet that I thought won. I thought Detroit won with Ron Holland.
I don't know. I had them in my losers, believe it or not.
That's crazy.
I like Ron Holland. They have no spacing on that team.
Good luck, Fred Vinson.
Fred Vinson, shooting coach for the Pelicans. He is a miracle worker. He's going to need to. I think Ron Holland, even though he needs to improve his jump shot, I don't think Ron Holland's jump shot is broke. It's not broke. It's not Michael Kidd Gilchrist.
Yeah,
you can teach him how to shoot.
Yeah,
but
it's got a long ways to go.
Asar, just the lack of spacing on the wing is.
They have $65 million in cap space.
They could go get someone, but who wants to go to Detroit right now?
You got to overpay. You got to overpay.
You think Jeremy Grant wanted to go to Portland?
Play with Dame.
Play with Cade.
You got to overpay at the end of the day if you're a team like Detroit. But
you understand what I'm saying? Like, I believe that Ron Holland is a good prospect. Yeah. I think he went to the worst situation for him.
Possibly. But the thing with Ron Holland is that I feel as if he's a talented enough player to where it doesn't really matter if you didn't draft or fit if you're at Detroit. Because you can use a two-way wing like him and just like another good NBA player, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. And I think he has the upside to be the best player in this draft. And then the Suns getting Ryan Dunn. They have a defender now, somebody who can guard at the point of attack. And, that's all they need right now from somebody. I was mad that they traded back and they didn't take Day'Ron Holmes. Yeah, but when you think about it, it's like, what do you need more? Do you need a rim protector, a rim runner, or do you need just a point of attack defender?
A Jaden McDaniels.
And right now, yeah, you could say so.
Thanks.
Right now, you need somebody that can just stop an opposing offensive player from getting to the rim and getting into the lane freely.
I'm with you.
And I think that's Ryan Dunn. I thought that was a great pick from them.
The fact they were able to trade back and still get probably the guy that they wanted, that was a huge one for the Suns.
Now, let me ask you, Riv, you think the Timberwolves, they're not winners, they're not losers. The reasoning you use for it, though, is because of the pressure.
Yes.
You think pressure is a bad thing?
No. I think it could also be a good thing.
Because I feel like when it comes to NBA players in general, we're always measuring them up to the standard of what they can contribute to a winning team. I know that if Rob Dillingham went to the Spurs or if he went to the Wizards, he would have a green light. His numbers would be better. But I think if he averages 7 points for the Timberwolves, but he does it on good efficiency and just brings them a spark off the bench, that's a great rookie season for him.
Like a Cason Wallace type situation?
Well, exactly like that.
Cason Wallace could defend.
Well, I think what you mean
that's my fear with Rob.
I know that's your fear, but this is why I'm happy about this landing spot. Minnesota is a team that they have built up good habits. Rob Dillingham, he might not be able to guard because he's limited in his size, but what he's going to do is he's going to show effort, especially in Minnesota. He's going to show heart. He's going to show effort. And on top of that, Mike Conley's a veteran that any point guard coming in would love to learn from. Dillingham gets to learn behind him while he's able to work out his body, get stronger for years in the future. I feel like, if anything, it's a blessing he went to a situation like Minnesota because he's going to see firsthand what it takes to compete at the highest of high levels. Yeah. And he's going to groom and prepare and train himself for that every offseason moving forward.
You're thinking of probably the best case scenario.
He's a star.
Okay.
He's a star.
I mean, I like the fit a lot because he's playing alongside 3 All-NBA defenders. I mean, you look at Rob Dillingham, the shot creation and playmaking from the perimeter is surely there. But the question was, how could he fill into like a playoff team's rotation at 160
Rookies
pounds
don't
and
play
6'1"?
much in the playoffs.
And what he reminds me of as a rookie
Rookies
is
that size,
maybe
they played off the
offensively.
floor.
Offensively,
Being
you're right.
6'1" in today's NBA is not a big deal.
Being
But, Drew,
6'1",
hold up. I've got
160,
some
and you're not an
comps.
offensive engine is a big deal.
But he still can spot up and still be
We've
a great
seen
shooter.
guys
Yeah.
like him on playoff teams in the past, like Bones Highland, the Nuggets, couldn't really play in the playoffs.
Bones Highland was ass.
I mean, his rookie year, he averaged 10 points a game and shot 37% from 3 on a team that
Bones
desperately
Highlands was
needed
good.
that shot creation.
I think that's
But
fair.
he was
I think
good on
that's
that Nuggets
fair.
team. And another guy is Emmanuel Quickly, who also
Bones Highlands
much
is
better
also
defender.
bigger than.
Is Bones even in the league now?
Yeah,
He's on the
We're
Clippers.
talking about him as a rookie, bro.
yeah.
Okay.
And the other player is
this was a
Quickly
top 10
offensively
pick.
on that 2021 Knicks team.
Bones
So
was a
there's
second
guys
rounder.
that-
Am I bugging?
Yeah, he's
Bones was also in
late
a
first.
lot much more difficult
26.
draft.
He might have been
Yeah.
the 27, 26 pick.
And he wasn't a freshman. Bones was like a sophomore, junior.
Listen, I understand. I think those concerns are valid, John, because you look at those miniature guards, and you could draw a correlation between them and Rob Dillingham. I just believe that Rob Dillingham's scoring juice is just much more than theirs, and
I agree.
I do think that Rob Dillingham will be able to
26.
fill out his body and just understand what it takes to win at the highest level. Now, could this pick, could he be a star? Yes. Could I see a range of outcomes where he is one of those players you mentioned? I could absolutely see it. But I'm banking on his tools and his traits, and I think he's a game changer.
His floor is like a better version of Bones Highland, which is pretty high. What he reminds me of is maybe a less explosive Kobe White. Maybe Garland, the scorer purely, but not quite the passer. I mean, he's one of my top 7 players in this draft class. I'm just saying, I think he needed to go to a place like Minnesota in order to really play in that playoff setting.
You definitely have to learn it. It's just going to be tricky to see how much is he going to be in the rotation first couple of years. How is he going to manage to be? Because playing on teams like this, you get that experience firsthand. You know, sometimes players shrivel in the moment. Sometimes players don't. I know we don't like to look at the NCAA tournament, but in his first moment, he shriveled up. So
It was one game.
no, for sure. In the playoffs, it only takes one game for you not to play anymore as a rookie.
I won't be a prisoner of that for the idea that last year I was very critical of Brandon because every game he played, he was terrible.
in the tournament.
Correct. But he ended up being one of the best rookies this season.
The thing with Dillingham,
That's team
he
with no
just
expectations.
Fair enough.
he just needs to fill the role that Monte Morris and Jordan McLaughlin filled last season.
You know what, though? I understand your point now. Team with no expectations. Brandon went in there, was amazing.
make mistakes.
We don't knock him for that at all, that he's on a bad team but played well. Obviously, that makes him great in everyone's eyes. But for Rob, he's going to a team that has WCF expectations, finals expectations, and apparently it's going to be immediate.
The
He's
margin of
getting
error is
meaningful
just so
minutes
small.
off rip. So there's going to be real pressure. And the first time we've seen him in a high leverage, high pressure situation, he did fumble. What I do respect, though, was that he was willing to go out shooting. Reed Shepard, I was very critical on both Rob and Reed because in that game, both of them played shitty. But Reed wasn't actively trying to shoot them out of the game or shoot them into the game. He was just straight up passing up the ball and not even giving it an attempt. At least Rob was willing to go out on a sword.
I think that's a fair criticism. Where I draw the line is I don't think he's under a lot of pressure this year. I think he probably will
just
play in
traded 2 first-round picks for you.
he'll play in high pressure games. In year 3 and 4, if we're not talking about Rob Dillingham as the full-time starter for Minnesota and averaging like
Because
16
Conley
or
will be
more,
40 years old then.
I think that right there is a problem. But as a rookie, he needs to play 15 minutes and be meaningful.
Did
in
Case
those.
and
That's all.
Wallace have pressure on him in this playoffs?
No.
I would say yes. He went 1 for 7 in Game 6 and was one of the reasons they lost.
I know,
right?
but he didn't have no pressure.
I
on
feel like
him.
if you're in a rotation, you're in a playoff
In the
rotation,
playoffs,
you have pressure. It could be
facts.
little, could be big, but there's pressure there.